I look at the kettle, then I look behind it. She's cut the wire to
Oh
the
my
kettle.
God.
So you're probably going the same way I went at that point. I went, that's not the only cable she's cut. No way.
Mm-hmm.
She cut every cable to every electrical appliance in the house. But I know then that's not it. We're just getting started, right?
Every journey has a story, and every story has the power to heal. My story hasn't been ordinary. I was adopted. I'm a survivor of abuse and trauma, and I have more than a dozen siblings. That's just the beginning of my story. Life has taken me on a long and winding road of healing and personal growth, a journey that ultimately led me back to myself and the path I was meant to walk. Along the way, I discovered that stories have power, the power to connect us, to help us grow, and even to help us heal. This is Travel Time Stories with Shannon. Real journeys, real stories, and real healing. Have you ever looked back at a relationship and thought, how did I ignore all those red flags? Why do some people feel like home while simultaneously destroying your peace?
Yeah.
Or wondered why some relationships feel more like addiction than love? Why does chaos sometimes feel more intimate than safety?
Why do humans repeatedly confuse emotional intensity with love?
Tonight's conversation isn't about dating.
It's about power, attachment, identity, desire, and shame.
And the dangerous things we'll tolerate just to avoid feeling alone.
Yeah.
I'm your host, Shannon from Texas, and welcome back to Travel Time Stories with Shannon, where we share real journeys, real stories, and give you real healing.
Beautiful.
And I'm your co-host, Ann from Missouri. And tonight's conversation feels less like an interview and more like the kind of discussion people have at midnight after a couple of glasses of wine when the walls finally come down.
We're joined by Dr. Stephen Paul Edwards, international speaker, transformational coach, and the author of The Venus Flytrap, Sex, Lies, and Repercussions.
His work explores toxic relationships, emotional patterns, vulnerability, heartbreak, identity, and the psychology behind why humans repeat destructive cycles.
Stephen, welcome to the table. We're excited about this conversation.
Wow. I got to tell you, ladies, I'm so impressed. I think that was an incredible introduction. Thank you so much. You guys do such incredible preparation for this. You even read the book. I mean, that's amazing, right? That's pretty awesome. Hopefully you enjoyed it. It wasn't too much of a drudge, but yeah. And I want to thank you for having me here. I'm really excited about our conversation. And I know people are going to have a good time, as are we, right?
Yeah.
And they're going to
Yes.
walk away with something of great value. So really a blessing to be here. Thank you.
Exactly. And yes, we definitely enjoyed the book. And now
Very
that I know
much.
book 2 is out, I am going to be purchasing that so I can read book
We're
2.
ready. Yes.
We're ready. Yeah. Wow. That's wonderful. Well, that is a real powerful reference when two ladies have read the book and they're looking forward to book 2. I'm very delighted to hear that.
Yes, we need to read it immediately while book 1 is still fresh and,
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right. We will take care of that, ladies. No problem. We will take care of that.
so
And
good.
as we say on Travel Time Stories, grab your favorite beverage and let's get into it.
I love that when you said, Anne, it's like, you're going to have a chat at midnight with a glass of wine. And you just picture that. So cozy, right? That's so nice.
Exactly. And it just all
Exactly.
comes out.
It all comes out. We spill the
all
tea,
comes-
right? As well as
Oh,
drink the
we
wine.
do. We do. Yes.
All right.
So let's talk about attraction
Yeah.
because everyone has that relationship, the one where you knew it was chaos, but you
Yeah.
stayed anyway.
Yeah.
So do you think people are attracted to other people or are they attracted to the unresolved parts of themselves that they see reflected back?
Great question. I would say both, right? I would say both. But the main reason for it is to heal, right?
Yeah.
So people go, I'm in a toxic relationship. What's wrong with me? And I go, nothing. There's nothing wrong with you. you have decided, along with your creator, whether you call that God, whatever you want to call it, right? That it's time. It's time to look in the mirror. It's time to look at these things that you've either given away in the past, parts of yourself, or you've been afraid of. It's time to heal those things. And this person has come in your life to help you go through that. It doesn't mean they're going to be easy on you, right? It doesn't mean you're not going to have pain, but it is, one of the beliefs I adopted a long time ago, ladies, not long enough, but a long time ago, is that nothing happens to you. Everything happens for you. Now that sounds easy, simple to say. It's a lot different to live it, right? To actually really believe it, because we got a choice there. When something happens, we have a choice of saying, this happened to me. This person did this to me. But when we do that, we have a wound. But when we say this happened for me, we become wiser, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So we have a choice in that moment, either be wounded by it, angry about it, frustrated about it, resentful about it, and carry it with us wherever we go. We have an opportunity to say, by the way, I'm not saying this is easy, right? When something happens, go, Stephen Evans said this happened for me. Screw him. That's bullshit. This did not happen for me, right? And I say the same thing sometimes, right? But when I calm down and I really look at it and I'm committed to the belief, I'm a brat about it, right? I said, well, how's this fucking happen for me? How's that happen for me, right? This is going to be good, right? I mean, I talk to myself, as I say in the book.
Yeah.
And we all
I
do,
think
right?
we all do, right?
Exactly, we all do.
Yes.
Because I say to the reader at that point, I know you do too, because you just ask yourself, do I talk to myself? See? So we all do that. And we have these conversations, which are very often hilarious, right? You're having this conversation and sometimes you're thinking, I should write this down. This is hilarious. But anyway,
Right.
when you commit to realizing and really digging down deep and you find why it's happened for you, it's such a blessing. It frees you from years and years of pain, because the other person doesn't know that you might be angry or resentful or whatever. And so you're carrying that low vibrational energy around with you, and it's hurting you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, having said that, it doesn't mean they're part of it, that they didn't do something, right? But you can't change that. And you can't change them. All you can do, you can't make it not happen, but what you can do is get the gift out of it that propels you forward. So one of the stories in the book, if I may, I'll just share an example. It just came to my mind. As you might remember, ladies, it was a pretty volatile relationship, right? You get to the end of the chapter and go, thank God that's over.
Yeah, right.
And then you get to the beginning of the next chapter and you go, they're back together? Are you kidding me? How is that even possible, right? So we had this tumultuous relationship, which actually makes it fun, right? It's pretty funny. But at one point, if you remember, we were broken up. I'd gone away. She'd gone on a binge somewhere, and she came back to the house. It was late at night. And so she broke into the house, right? While I was gone, right? And the alarms go off, the police come out. It's, oh, no. I don't know whether I've actually done this. I think this might be book 2.
I was going to say, that wasn't book 1.
All right, this is a bit of a spoiler, right? A bit of a spoiler. But you'll forget I told you this, right? Because you get caught up in the story. Anyway.
Oh, no, I won't. I will not forget. And when I get there, I'm going to be like, this is the part. All
right. Are you okay with me sharing this then? I don't want to,
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So she comes home. She breaks into the house. The alarms go off. And what had happened recently to this was that something had happened in the community, and they were kind of annoyed at the police because they were taking so long to come out. So now this happens, and they're like, well, this is our opportunity to show how we can come in hot and heavy, right? So there's about 6 squad cars, 2 SUVs. They brought the police dogs out. They're running through everybody's garden in the neighborhood. And she's sitting in the car, the Bentley with the roof down, and all these sheriffs are going around like she's got them wrapped around a little finger, right? So they call me, and I'm like 4,000 miles away. And they said, and as you know from the stories, this is not the first time the police have been out to the house, right?
Right.
So it's like we were almost on first name terms, right? And I think I said in the book at some point, they should open a branch here in the community because it'd just be much easier, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so they call me and they say, well, look, man, she's here at the house and she wants to get in. And I said, look, under no circumstances, let her in the house, because I'm thinking it's going to be a mess, right? She's she's going to be mad. She's going to be mad. Anyway. So they said, well, listen, I don't know. I'll let me call you back. So they call me back and he says, look, man, I'm going to have to let her in because I just talked to the chief. They talked to the chief of police, right? They talked to the chief of police, says you got to let her in. I get home 3 days later. I'm like going in the front door. And I'm like, oh my God, what's this going to be like? I walk in the house. Everything's fine. Everything looks just the same as when I left. I'm going. She turned over a new leaf. So I go in the kitchen and I put the kettle on, right? So I can have a cup of tea. So I go out of the kitchen, come back, and the kettle hasn't boiled. It's not even boiling. So I go over, I look at the kettle. Then I look behind it. She's cut the wire to
Oh
the
my
kettle.
gosh.
So you'd probably go in the same way I went at that point. I went, that's not the only cable she's cut, right? No way.
Mhm.
No.
She cut every cable to every electrical appliance in the house.
Wow.
But I know then that's not it. We're just getting started, right? So I don't know if I think I mentioned this in the book. Maybe I'm not sure. But anyway, when I talk about my childhood, I talk about the fact that my mother sent me to school in school clothes that were just way too big for me, right? And so, you know how kids are, right? They're ruthless, right? So they
Yeah.
would tease me, humiliate me, and the teachers weren't any better, right? They'd be like, Edwards, come here. What are you wearing? You know what I mean? Like this. I really don't know, sir. Whatever, right? So clothes became very important to me because they'd been a source of humiliation, right?
Yeah.
And so by the time I was 9 years old, I had to find a way to buy my own clothes to get out of the pain. So throughout my life, clothes have been very important to me. I always wanted to look immaculate, and by now, I'm in a time of my life when I'm making all this money. So you can imagine I had a pretty nice wardrobe, right?
Right.
It was my, what do you call it? Pride and joy, right? So I'm
Mhm.
thinking, no, please, right? So I get to my closet. Again, everything looks fine. Then I pull the clothes back. She's cut them all up, right? She's cut all my clothes up and my shoes.
Oh my God.
So like I said, in that moment, I did not say, well, this happened for me. I didn't say that, right? I was upset. I was angry, of course, right? I'm human, right?
Yeah.
So, and that went on for a while. But finally, when I sat down, exhausted, and thought, I'm looking out. I remember this distinctly. I'm looking out over the lake, right? And I go, okay, all right, this happened for me. Explain that to me. This is going to be good, right? And the answer doesn't come to you right away, right? You get different answers that you're trying to do in your mind to justify it, to try and calm down. So one of the first things that came to my mind was, well, it's just clothes. But that's not it, right? Because then your brain goes, they were really nice clothes though, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a process. You can't just say, this happened for me, and then you're going to come up with it. You're not, but you got to be committed to it and keep going deeper and deeper and deeper until you get to the point. And the point was attachment. I was attached to those clothes to the point where they become part of my identity.
Mhm.
And that's dangerous, right? Because now you're giving more of yourself away. But I know that's not all of it, right? So attachment, what else am I attached to? Right? So you keep going. And so that's when it started for me to let it all go. Because I realized that possessions, there's a reason they're called possessions, because they possess you. They take energy away from you and who you really are. They take energy away from you to get them, right? To go out, you got to work hard and you got to do that. And you have to compromise yourself for that, right? You have to compromise your relationships. It's one of the reasons I went through 4 marriages, right? So you pay a price. Everything has consequences, right? They're not punishments. They're just consequences, right? So now one of my points is this. Once you take on that belief and you really, really commit to it, you can never be a victim again because nobody did it to you. They did it for you.
Yeah.
And that puts it all in a whole new light and it becomes a gift. And now once you've done that a number of times, there's always a gift in it somewhere, right? And so if I hadn't had that belief, I would still be angry at her today. I'd still be carrying that anger, that resentment, that frustration, and feeling like she did it to me instead of recognizing that as a spirit, as a soul, she came into my life to help me, to teach me, to show me who I am by reflecting it back at me and helping me do the healing.
That is powerful. So why do you think toxic relationships feel often more emotionally powerful than healthy ones?
Because you wouldn't get into it if it wasn't, right? It's beyond your control, which is why, when people, people will come and they'll complain, right? Well, he did this or she did that. And you say, well, you need to get out of it then. And they go, I know, right? I'm gonna. and they go back and they're not coming out of it, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
they still have things to learn. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And everybody else is going, they're so stupid. Can't they see that this guy or this woman isn't going to help them? They're destructive, they're toxic. Well, as it turns out, that's not necessarily true in the long term. In the short term, it can sure feel toxic. But the draw, whatever that draw is beyond your control. It's so powerful. It's like a drug, right? And
Mm-hmm.
when a drug addict has taken a drug, they have no power over it, right? They have no power over it. The drug
Yeah.
takes over. So she was my heroine, right? Not in my hero, but in my, she was my addiction, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And that was what held me in there, right? So that I could go through all the things I needed to go through to learn the lessons, to shed the skin of who I had been and rebirth myself as a new person, right? Sounds easy. It wasn't easy, as you know, right? It was very difficult, but it was up and down, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Just when I thought I was going to get out of it, she drew me back in. You know what I mean? So you go in and
Yeah.
out. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And if when you're reading the book, you go, well, he seems to be making sense now. And then you go to the next page. Now he's lost it again. Now he's gone back. Now he's gone crazy again, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So my point I want to make, and I think you guys do too, is look, don't feel bad about it. And I say to people sometimes, have you ever been in a toxic relationship? Usually people say yes, right? If they
Mhm.
say no, I say, well, you need to get out more often. You know what I
There you
mean?
go.
Because here's the thing, we're never fully healed, right?
No.
Our relationships are a reflection of us, right? And all they're going to do is reflect back the areas that you're not healed. And if you constantly look at them like they're the problem, you might get out of that relationship and say, I'm not going to date for 6 months. Great. You date after 6 months, and what do you find? You meet the same person in a
The
different
same
body.
kind.
You know what I mean? The same pattern repeats. So I
Yeah.
say to people, look, you don't have a relationship problem. You have a pattern problem. And so we need together to look at the patterns that probably began in your childhood that you're repeating over and over again. And until we resolve that, this is what's going to keep happening. So you got a choice. Do you want to spend the rest of your life doing this? Or would you rather heal it now and start living the life you really want to live and you deserve to live, right? And based on that answer, sometimes they still want to go back. And it's okay. It's okay because there's still more for you to get out of it. You won't do it anymore when you're sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yeah.
When you've got everything you need and you're ready to come out of it and you make that commitment, just like we talked about, saying the things you're ashamed about loud, you got to say out loud what you want.
Yeah.
How can God create for you what you want if you don't tell him or her, depending on how you look at it, right? So you
Yeah.
got to say it out loud, right? You got to, and it doesn't necessarily mean you got to shout it from the rooftop. So that's not a bad idea either. But you've got to say it either in your words, in your thoughts, or your actions, or even better, all three.
Yep, that's true. And leads into one thing that my mom used to always tell me, and man, was she spot on. When you get a belly full, you'll leave.
Mm, yeah,
You won't
Exactly.
leave till you get a
yeah.
belly full, but once you get a belly full, then you'll leave.
That's great. Big metaphor. You're not hungry for it anymore, right? You've
Yeah.
lost your appetite.
Yeah.
Lost your
They don't.
appetite.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Mothers always know best.
Yes,
They
they do. You don't think so at the time necessarily,
right.
but
That's right.
but you
you
find
think
out
about
later.
You think about it later. That's true, isn't it? Right? It's like they're setting you up because they know when you're young, you haven't been through those experiences yet. But when
Yeah.
you do, you'll remember, and it will kind of give you a comfort in that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
I'm of the mindset similar to what you're talking about, that I feel like everything happens for a reason in your
For
life.
sure. Yeah. Yeah.
There's a
And you,
reason and a purpose behind whatever it is that's happening in your life, a lesson or a gift or something that you're supposed to learn or
yeah, for
get.
sure. I'm a big fan of Carl Jung, and he talks about this. He talks about these relationships that come into your life, and he says, you might feel like this is the one. This is the person that's going to make you whole or whatever you want to call it, right? And they're so amazing and you're so in love. Why would God put someone in your life that's so perfect and then make it impossible for you to be with them? And it's because they're not here to be that person for the rest of your life. They're here to teach you, right?
Yep.
They're
They're
here
here
as a
for a
gift.
season.
There you go. A reason, season, lifetime, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, they're here for a reason to help you. and then they'll be gone. And you have to let them go, which is another lesson, right?
Yeah.
Like you ladies know, you have to love someone enough to let them go. You also have to love yourself enough to let them go.
Yep.
And that's never going to be easy. But again, God says, listen, I didn't say it was going to be easy. I just said it's going to be worth it.
Exactly.
And so often people are so afraid to go through the pain. You're going to go through pain. You're going to walk
Yes.
through the fire, right? Or you're going to live a life that is not your own. You're going to live a life of mediocrity at best, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to embrace all the gifts you've been given because you're giving them away, right? From fear, right? Well, what if I lose this person? What if they don't love me anymore? Well, if you don't share who you really are, they don't love you because they don't even know who the hell you are, right? And that's why
100%.
people, that's what subconsciously we know this, right? We
Mhm.
know it. And so when we become afraid of stepping into our power or being who we really are, we're always going to live in fear of losing that person because you're thinking, well, you say you love me, but you don't know me. And so you never feel worthy of love. And then you start to believe that if people find out who I really am, they won't love me anymore. And that's a tough place to be, isn't it?
It is.
So that's why I say vulnerability is a power. It's a tremendous power. When you can be vulnerable, as you talk about, when you can, and you say it here, you speak it out, say it, share it, because then it loses power over you.
Mhm.
And then you think to yourself, well, I put it all out there now. What can anybody say about me I haven't said? You know what I mean? And people go,
Exactly.
you were so, yeah, they can go, you were so stupid. I go, yeah, I know, but have you read the whole book? Because there's a lot more to come, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So you don't care what people say anymore because you're okay with yourself and you've got that freedom, right? And
Mhm.
that's what she gave me. She gave me my freedom because by showing me, demonstrating to me, being her authentic self, which is, you read the book, she's like, she doesn't care. She
Yeah.
just puts it all out there, right?
Yeah.
Which is attractive in itself. I'm not saying I want to be like her, but I'm saying it's like, isn't that what we all want?
Mhm.
We all want to be our authentic self and just we want people to love us. And so we're afraid if we put that out there that maybe people won't love us, but actually they'll love you more because you're being real, right?
Exactly.
And we live in a world where people are just pretending to be something that they think society expects them to be. And it's exhausting, right? It's exhausting,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And most people, I have this image in my mind of, when people come home from work and, everyone lives in the same house. This is the house you're supposed to live in the right neighborhood. The garden's done, got the right car that everybody has. And then they get through the front door and they put the back against the door and go, thank God I'm home and I can be myself.
Mhm.
I don't have to keep that facade up anymore. It's so exhausting at work with your friends and socially. That's a lot of pressure,
Yeah, it is.
you know? So yeah, I mean, they're not easy lessons to learn. And listen, I've still got a lot to go. I'm not even close, right? This was a lot I learned, a great deal I learned, but I'm still learning, right? I'm still growing. I'm still learning things about that relationship. I'll give you an example. So yesterday, and it's like you have this light bulb moment, and I go, wow, I've always been afraid of intimacy, right? Because when I was a kid, I didn't have any intimacy. My mom was so wounded from her childhood that she didn't know how to be, obviously not intimate, but I mean, in terms of,
Right.
be mothering and touch and in a
Yeah,
good way, a
loving and
positive,
Right.
yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when you learn that when you're a child, that carries with you into later life. So you're not
Mhm.
comfortable having that kind of intimacy, right? The intimacy that I had would be in conversation through the mind, thinking and sharing and talking. But I was very afraid of sexual intimacy. And I went, wow, that explains a lot of things, right? Explains why I would always prefer to be watching rather than in it,
Mhm.
which creates voyeurism, right?
Yep.
So, right, because intimacy is just not something I'm comfortable in because I don't know it, right? But becoming aware of it is powerful, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Awareness is the beginning, right? Yeah. And so things like that all the time come into my mind and I go, wow, I didn't even realize that, but yeah, that's true.
Well, speaking of that, since you brought it up, we live in a
Right.
culture where sexuality is everywhere, yet
Yeah.
honest conversations about it still make people uncomfortable.
Yeah,
So
for
why
sure.
do you think sexuality remains so taboo still, even in this
Yeah,
day?
yeah. Well, it's a great question. And I'm not going to say I have all the answers, but I think one of them might be that sexuality has been made to be shameful,
Mhm.
Mhm.
you know? Um, and I think a lot of things that we believe have been handed down from generation to generation, and they might have made sense 100 years ago,
Yeah.
but not today. I once heard a story and I thought this was funny. And I don't remember if I can remember the story, I'll do my best. But there was a woman, she got married and she used to bake a cake. A grandmother had taught us how to bake this cake, right? The recipe and everything. So her husband was in the kitchen with her and she took the cake out of the oven, right? And when she took it out of the container, she cut both ends off. And her husband said, Why'd you do that? She said, I don't know. That's what my grandmother always did. Right. So, and the reason, and she said to her grandmother, why did you cut the ends off? She said, honey, because the pot wasn't big enough. That's how we used to do it, right? But sometimes we just do things because that's the way it's always been done, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I think we are having a new, and I write about this in the book, right? A new sexual revolution where it is becoming, people talk about it more. Women are better at it than men, right? Women are much more open. To them, it's not a big deal, right? To
Right.
guys, it's like they freeze up, right? For whatever reason. So, but we need to make it okay for guys to talk about it too. Because if we don't, then it's still difficult for women, right? Because when they want to talk about it, men don't want to talk about it and it gets shut down. And then there's a whole missing piece in the relationship, right?
Yeah.
Girlfriend, boyfriend, marriage, whatever it is, right? So that was one thing that we were able to do, as I write about in the book. We were able to talk about our sexuality because we were sexually aligned for whatever reason. And we were both able to be vulnerable because we recognized that there were mirrors, right? Like we were both in an asylum when we were kids. It was terrible. It was traumatic, but we could understand each other through that, right? Through our sexuality and through our desire to have adventures. We were both, you could say we were both very irresponsible. Yeah, but it's okay. We took risks, right?
Hmm.
And it didn't always work out well, right?
Yeah.
But we were driven by not wanting to live what society would say is a normal life. That just wasn't what we wanted, right? We
Right.
wanted to have adventures. And we were very fortunate during this time. We were living a fantasy life, right? I mean, here we are. We're living in a mansion. We got every toy you could want, right? We got a butler. We travel. We stay in hotels. If I'd have said to her, "Can you make the bed?" She would have gone, "What?" Right? What's making the bed? Right? You know, could you make a cup of tea? Yeah, probably not. Right? How about boil an egg? What's an egg? No, I mean, you know what I mean? It was
Right.
ridiculous, right? It was
Yeah.
so, um, we weren't living a normal life by a long stretch. I mean, we were living a fantasy life. It was just not tenable, right? It wasn't tenable, and we did crazy things that how we weren't held more accountable is amazing, right? I mean, at the times the police came over, time we got stopped in the car, we're on a cruise, we almost get arrested. I mean, how the hell do you pull that off, right?
Yeah, right.
Not
Exactly.
easy, right? And then, we go to Las Vegas. I'm trying to work. She's being a brat. So I leave her in Las Vegas and people are going, you left her in Las Vegas? Well, not only did I leave her in Las Vegas, I left her without any money, right? So
Hmm.
that's how crazy it was, the crazy things we did. I was trying to set boundaries, not a
Right.
chance. There was never a chance of her accepting a boundary. She used to stomp all over him, right?
Yeah.
And then so people again will say, well, why'd you stay? Because I was crazy about her, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
And I kept saying to myself, well, look, here's the deal. You could break up with her. And I talked to you in the book, right? I'm saying, yeah, you probably think I should have broken up with her now, don't you? Well,
Yeah.
I did. You wouldn't be reading this, would you? And you wouldn't be having so much fun. So there you go. And
Exactly.
also, what am I going to do? I mean, I could go back to a mediocre, boring life, or I can have this fun and adventure with this crazy woman, right? And I kind of like crazy, right? I
Yeah.
liked it to some degree. It ended up getting a little bit extreme.
Yeah.
But at the beginning, if you remember the beginning of the book, when I talk about how I met her, we met
Hmm.
online,
Yeah.
trying to get a date with her, and she canceled, and then I got another date. And then to tie the date down, I decided I'm going to buy her some flowers, right? And I asked her, what's your favorite flower? And she said, a bird of paradise, right?
Yeah.
And then I joked with her. I was joking with her all the time, right? And I said, nah, mine too. It's a bit expensive though. So what's your second favorite? Right? As a joke, right? And
Yeah.
what did she say? What did she say?
The Venus flytrap.
Yeah.
Venus flytrap, right? Immediately, right? Yeah. I mean, what are the chances? I mean, think about this, right? Talk about being guided. Talk about being imperfect. How many people would say to a woman, "What's your favorite flower?" Well, it's a bit expensive, so what's your second favorite? Nobody, right?
Nobody.
Nobody.
Yeah.
Did. And I didn't when she said Venus flytrap, what do you think I felt? This is dangerous.
This is
Mhm.
dangerous. Yeah. This is a
My
sign.
intuition told me right out of the gate. But
Yep.
what did I say? Yeah, well, I kind of like dangerous, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I didn't want to,
Exactly.
you know what I mean? So what do you say? I overrode or ignored it, right?
Hmm.
And I paid the price, right? But I also got the rewards out of it, right? You know, there were a lot of rewards out of it. I mean, for all the drama, all the chaos, all the mayhem, there were some really amazing times we spent together, right?
Yeah.
Right.
That's
And to
true.
be honest with you, as you go through the book, and I say this and I talk about this in the book, you know, I talk about her relationship with her father, my father, all that stuff. And there was a piece of both of us
Yep.
that felt unworthy, right?
Yeah.
But in the end of book one, if you remember, when I'm driving to pick her up at the ranch, right? Because she'd run
Hmm.
away, right? To punish me, right?
Yeah.
Which I needed. And she kicked me ass. She kicked my ass, right? Again. And I'm driving because she had called me to come get her, right? And the guy that she'd run away to, who was much wealthier than I was, she'd let him go to get me to come and pick her up. And what did that tell me? Well, maybe she does love me. I am lovable, right? And that was powerful. So I'm driving down the road crying, thinking, because that's such a breakthrough, you know, such a huge breakthrough to say she showed me that she could go find a guy wealthier than me anytime. I mean, she did that like in an hour. She found that guy
Yeah.
when I I sent Ross over to see what she was doing, and it pissed her off quite rightly, right? Because
Yeah.
I knew she was going out, and she didn't want to
Mhm.
tell me she was going out because she knew it would make me mad, right? So she just decides to do it anyway, right?
Yeah.
So he goes over and finds her there, and she goes, "All right, let me show you." Right? So it's like 10 o'clock at night, and within 2 hours, she's finding, you know, a multimillionaire in Gainesville that'll have her come out. He gives her a car, a Mercedes 55 SL, gives her a bungalow on the place, wants her to be the manager of his resort. It wasn't what she wanted. She wanted to make me jealous and to come and get her, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Which I did, you know. And so we have that beautiful scene where we're sitting outside the bungalow and I'm just holding her, right? And that's so there's beautiful moments in there, incredible experiences, along with the not so enjoyable experiences that we had. But you're also going to learn in the second book why, which will shock you. It will shock you what was actually going on behind the scenes that I wasn't aware of, and neither was she, that made it untenable. So not only was it untenable from the crazy madness, mayhem, and chaos that was going on, there's another thing that neither of us realized that made it impossible.
Okay.
I can't wait.
Yeah. Now I'm just more intrigued and can't wait to read book two.
Yeah. I got to tell you, ladies, I've read both books. I don't even know how many times because I really enjoy it. I think it's an amazing story. I think it's an incredible story. Then you think to yourself, well, that's me because I wrote it. But I've written a bunch of books and never read them again, right?
Yeah.
Right.
This one, I know it's an incredible story and I know it's layered with so many opportunities to learn. Could just read it as an entertainment, just
Right.
put it down. Or, you know what I find a lot of people say, oh, I did that, or I did the other. I was in a toxic relationship. And so that's another thing that is important is I want to create a community, you know, so that people can share, you know, being in a relationship that other people might consider toxic and start to realize, well, maybe there was lessons in it for me too. Maybe there's something there for me too. And maybe that will take away some of the anger, resentment about it instead of looking at the other person being the, what's the word I'm looking for? To being the villain. There you go.
Yeah, there we go.
That's a great word. And then you can say, well, instead of thinking they're the villain, maybe I was the volunteer, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that what they did was right. Doesn't mean you have to repeat that anymore. What it does is it gives you the opportunity to heal so you don't want it anymore.
Yeah.
You
Exactly.
know, and obviously people ask me, well, are you still together? Do you see each other? You know, are you in communication? And sometimes I joke and say, yeah, she's here. You want to talk to her? No, I say, no, right? And I say, not because I have nothing but love for her. I have nothing but gratitude to her, but I don't want to do that again. I'm not the same person anymore. I don't even want that anymore. But because of her, I've learned to set boundaries. I've learned how to make sure I don't give myself away. Don't stop doing the things that are important to me for somebody else. To recognize that I had been playing a smaller game because I was afraid that these things would come out and I was holding them in. Right. And a bunch of other things. There are so many opportunities to learn in there. Like I said, I'm still learning, right?
Yeah,
I had that aha moment yesterday, which is powerful. Now I become aware of that. Now I can decide what I want to do with it.
exactly. And I think, at least for me anyway, and maybe it's the same for you. And like I told you before we started recording, I'm writing my book as well,
Yeah.
my story of my relationship that I went through. And I found that in writing the story, I had all these aha moments that just kept
Yeah.
popping up as I'm writing the story
Yes.
that I saw that I didn't see then and hadn't
Yeah.
saw up to this point. But as I'm rewriting everything, it just like the light bulbs were going off and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's cathartic, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm very blessed that I did it. But I also know this, right? So just be careful because here's the thing to write it all down, you're thinking about them a lot, right?
Yeah.
And your thoughts are things, right? Electromagnetic energy.
Yeah.
And as I'm writing, I'm going, I'm really, getting emotional. There's a lot of emotion on those thoughts. She's coming back. She's going to come back in my life. And I got to really consider what I'm going to do. And I went in and out. I'll be honest with you, right? I thought, we could talk, right? Start to justify having them back in your life. But then you go, no, 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 no. That's how she always works, right? She gets in a little bit. And then before you know it, you're back doing it
Yeah,
again, right?
Yeah.
exactly.
Exactly.
So she did. She came back. I mean, she didn't come back physically, starting to connect with me again. And I just didn't even respond. Just going to let that shit pass, right?
Yeah.
Because if I give it energy, it's going to start over, right?
Yep.
And I just said, I'm not that person anymore. That's not what I want anymore.
Yeah.
The person that was there in the story no longer exists. They're gone, right?
Yeah.
And the person that she was, I don't know, maybe no. But anyway, but you never step into the same river twice. And sometimes you just have to let it flow, let it go, right?
Like,
So because people would ask me, ladies, they'd say, are you over this? I say, I have no idea. I say, what do you mean no idea? Well, I mean, you can do all the work you want, but you don't know until you're faced with the same situation. And
exactly.
that's when you know what you're going to do and how you respond. And that's when you know. The good news is that it's not something I'm never going to go back there, right? The bad news is I still got a lot of work to do. There's still a long way for me to go, which I recognize, right? And I'm going through it. But another beautiful thing that happened for me was that in order to finally sit down and write the book, I had to be alone. I
Hmm.
had to be. And I chose to be on my own, to not be in a relationship anymore. Because honestly, I was exhausted. And at the end, you just go, I'm too tired to be in a relationship anymore,
Right.
right? But that's when I had the space and the opening to write. And that's when I had the space to be alone and feel good about being alone, enjoy my own company, right? Not feel I needed anybody. Doesn't mean if I don't choose to be with someone, I can't. But I don't even think about that. Maybe I will. Maybe I will. Maybe I won't. I don't know. But I'm really happy being with myself and being alone, right? I haven't even dated anybody in over 4 years,
Wow.
right? Yeah. So not because I can't. I just not. I've got so many things that are important to me in my life now, ladies, that I'm passionate about. I don't want to give that up again. And so I've really considered what a relationship would mean going forward. Well, first of all, there'll be boundaries of what I'm prepared to do, not prepared to do, because in the past I would just go along with what they wanted and I would adapt myself to that and make it okay. But now I don't want to be married again. I mean, like, well, no surprise there, right? You've given that enough shots, right? I mean, what's the definition of insanity? And people say, well, it's doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And I go, no, it's me. If you look in the dictionary, you the picture of me there. So no more marriage for me and no more living with someone for me. I enjoy my home. I like to have it to myself. I'm not saying that's right for everybody. I'm just saying it's what I know I want, and that's my boundary, right?
Hmm.
It's not that I would necessarily date someone and, a couple of times a week and go on adventures together and we could enjoy that. but not live with
Yeah.
somebody. You know, like I
Yeah.
said, I'm unmarriageable now.
I wouldn't go that far, Stephen.
I think when you get to be our age, your mindset changes
Yeah,
regarding that, regarding
yeah,
relationships, and like, you learn that being alone is okay, and you really like your freedom in being alone and
yeah,
not having to share your space with another person.
yeah,
But
Exactly.
you still crave companionship. And like you
yeah,
say,
Yeah.
sure.
it's great to, go out on a date here or there, or go on a vacation together or whatever, but you don't have to share your space with that person on a
Yeah,
daily basis.
right. Yeah, that's exactly
Yeah.
right. I agree with you 100%.
Can do whatever you want. It's so
E-
nice.
That's right.
Exactly.
It feels so great. Now, some of you guys might find this funny, right? So my experience, this is my experience, is that sleeping with the women that I've had in my life, and that just could be my experience, is the woman wants the whole freaking bed, right? They're not sprawled out, and I'm like in the corner hanging off the edge. Wait a minute, this is a king size bed. Is there not enough room for two people here? You know what I mean? So I like my bed and I like my space. And I like, as you said, and I like my freedom.
Yeah.
I like to come and go as I want. I mean, for long periods in my life, everything changes with me. I love change. My father, he could live Groundhog Day. He'd be fine. He loves the same things, wants to do the same thing every day. That's not for me. I like
Right.
variety.
Yeah.
So I do, so for like right now, I'm on a pattern of, I wake up really early. I wake up 3 o'clock in the morning. And then I do things that I want to do. It's kind of like a freedom thing, right? It's because
Right.
it's time you wouldn't normally have, right?
Yeah.
So I spend that time doing little bits in here and I get up and I work out and then I, meditate, do all these kind of things. And I've given those up before, right? But those are the things that make me who I am, right? Those are the things that I do for myself and you have to do for yourself, right? So I tell people, look, it's got to be you, God first, you second, and you've got to be doing things for yourself because otherwise you have nothing to give.
Right.
And, well, you know what you just spent. So
Yeah.
you've got to fill your cup before you can empty it.
Exactly. And you can't lose yourself in someone else.
Man, and I've done that
That
so many
that
times.
is
So many.
that's
Yeah, it is.
Yes. It
Oh,
really is.
you don't even realize you're doing it
yeah,
because we're givers. You want to give, right? And you want people to feel good. But before you know it, you're overgiving, right? You're overgiving, right?
yeah,
And if you're with the person, if you're in a toxic relationship with them, they will just take and take and take. And it'll be never enough for either of you
exactly. Yeah,
because you can never give them everything they need because what they need is inside them. And you can never give people everything they need because when you're giving like that, you don't want to save them. You really want to save yourself. And
Well,
that's
and
only go
people
ahead.
need to take responsibility too for themselves. They need to give themselves grace and be willing to give that grace to their partner as well.
Yeah. Unfortunately, to a large extent, it's also a society issue because we're taught things as children. I don't know when you guys were growing up. But, as a guy, you're taught you got to find the damsel in distress. You got to rescue, save, and fix her. Well, imagine that is world, right? That's not going to happen, right? There's
No.
no one that needs rescuing. There's no woman that needs saving, and you're definitely never going to fix her
yeah,
because she's already perfect. So stop trying to find people that you can make and mold into what you want. Find the person that's already right for you. Life is going to be so much easier, and then you probably won't have to go through 4 divorces.
let's hope not anyway.
That's right. Let's pray for that. Let's pray for that, right?
So you've said that healing begins when truth replaces denial. So what truths do people usually avoid facing after a heartbreak?
Yeah. Well, again, we can talk about these things. And it sounds easy. I know it's not easy, right? I know when you have a heartbreak and you're trying to heal after a relationship, you feel wounded, right? Because to have those feelings, you still got to be in the blame game, right? And it's easy to justify, right? Because it's like, well, he did this to me. He probably did, right? But he also did it for you in some, and you're not going to tell that person that right then, right? Because that's a process you got to go through to get to the fact that it did happen for you. And to be honest, nobody can tell that person but themselves. So all you can do is lead them down the path to ask the questions that they answered in the end. And they go, oh my God, I see that I created it. I didn't tell you that. You told yourself, right? Because we've taken this journey together and now you're ready, as Anne said, to take the responsibility. The challenge is we're just not taught that in society. Society wants to make you a victim. He did that to you. How terrible is he? Well, you know, and then that just feeds into it.
Mm-hmm.
And then they go, yeah, you're right. He did that to me. Oh my God, you know, or she did that to me, whatever it is, right? And so you got to be careful who you share it with because you don't want to reinforce a negative.
So, at what point does healing stop being about the other person and start becoming about yourself?
The sooner rather than later. And some people, it never does, right? You know, but for some people, it's not a choice because they don't even realize it. They're blind to it, right?
Right.
They're blind to it. And they'll keep repeating the same patterns. And what will they say? Why does this keep happening to
Mm-hmm.
me? What, you know, why? Why doesn't God love me anymore? Why am I unlovable? All these crazy questions. And why is an endless loop question, right? Forget about why. Let's focus on how and how we can stop it, right? And how we can end it. Not, you don't have a relationship problem. You have a pattern problem.
Mm-hmm.
And if we never change the pattern, you'll keep repeating it, right? It doesn't make you a bad person. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not unlovable. You're totally lovable, right? And the problem we have with that sometimes is people have been told for so long that they're unlovable. When you say they're lovable, they go, yeah, no, you don't know me.
Yeah.
Right?
They don't believe
So
you.
we got to break through that. We got to break through beliefs, right? And then you take them through a process of realizing that they are, right? So, you know, and that can be, you know, I'll try and make it funny and light a little bit, you know. So hold on a second. You were born and God created you. Is that correct? Yeah, I created everything. Okay. And God's mean, right? No.
No.
Okay. So you're telling me that of all the billions of people on earth, he decided that he was going to make you unlovable. Is that what you're telling me?
And
And
then
now
they
they
can,
start questioning it.
I was
Now they
going to say,
start.
then they can hear how ridiculous that
You see
sounds.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Exactly.
can you imagine a God not loving a child?
No.
Yeah. No.
Right? Well, you know what? You're still a child. You might have grown up physically, but that child is you.
Mm-hmm.
You're still that child. So you're telling me God would turn his back on you or her back, whichever way you want to look at it, right? Is that what you're saying? Because if you are, I can call God right now and tell him that that's what you think, because that's not going to go down. Right? You know?
Right?
Let's get him on the line right now and let's talk this out. Right? Yeah. And then you tell God that he sucks because I'm not going to say it. Right?
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
and ask God how he could be so cruel and everybody else gets love, but you don't. How would that go down? What do you think God would say? Now, I didn't tell you what God would say. Now you have to think about it. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now you realize that. What do you realize? God loves me. Okay. So you are lovable then, because if God loves you, you must be lovable, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So, right? You know what I mean?
Now that you mention it, that's
But we also have to realize that sometimes being a victim gets you all the attention you want.
Mm-hmm.
mm,
Right? People feel sorry for me. People are always asking me how I am, and I get attention. So that can be addictive, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes people want to hold on to that victimness because they don't know anything else. And you know, your book is called The Devil I Loved, right? Well, sometimes people say, better the devil I know than the devil I don't.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, at least I know this pain and I
Yeah.
know I can handle this, but I don't know what it's going to be like to go out there in the world and be loved,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because what if they love me one minute and they don't love me the next? Well, that's called life, dear, right?
Yeah.
So you got to
Exactly.
work at it, right? You know. So, and then we get into how to be in a relationship, because then some people say, well, we're married now, that's it, and I don't have to work at it anymore. I'm
Yeah.
like, listen, that's the beginning, right? That's the beginning, right? Not the end. And guys, we're all guilty of it, right? So, a woman says to a guy in a therapy, she says, you never tell me I love you. You love me. And he'll go, listen, I told you I love you 5 years ago. What's your problem? You know what I mean? So we gotta do this, right? Because to him, I mean, I'm exaggerating, but to him that makes sense, right? What do you mean I told you, right? You know? Anyway, yeah. But it's also, if we didn't have resistance, if we didn't have these challenges, then why are we here? You know, if we all came into this experience fully enlightened, we know everything, which I believe we do in our true essence as a spirit, but we have to forget that to come into this lifetime, but we don't have to take it so seriously.
I
We don't
agree.
have to take it seriously, right? Once you can adopt these beliefs and behaviors and new patterns, life can change radically. You're never going to be perfect in the eyes of everybody, but you want to meet the person who thinks you're perfect,
There you go.
right?
Well
That's
said.
exactly right.
Not
Yeah.
because you're not a pain in the ass sometimes, not
Right.
because you do everything the right way, but they love you anyway, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And it's not the perfection that we love in other people. It's the imperfection.
That's true.
That
It's
is
what
very
makes people
true.
different, draws us to them. And if we're with someone that's imperfect, then we can feel better about our imperfection, right? Yeah.
That's exactly
So,
right.
I
yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Well, good.
Well, I have to ask, what does she think about the book?
Wow. Interesting you would ask, right?
Thank you for asking that. I am dying to know.
Yeah. Well, so here's how she found out I'd written the book, right?
Right.
How, I have no idea, right? But she found out I wrote the book. So she posted on my social media a picture of the book on her iPad and a cup of coffee, like she was going to read the book. And underneath it said,
Oh.
this book is about me, WTF, right? So I didn't, like I said, I never, ever responded to anything. So then she began texting me, right? So if you think about it, the only reason she came back into my life, besides the fact that I've been thinking about her and she felt that, so she did. But from her angle, it was, how can I get what I want?
Exactly.
So what does she want? What does she want?
Money,
I
attention,
was
part
going
of
to
your
say,
book.
since the book is
No, she
about
wants-
her, she wanted her piece of the pie.
She wanted a
Exactly.
piece of the pie, right? Which, by the way, when I was writing the book, because my niece would say, what are you going to do if she comes back? I go, she, whatever. I mean, she played a part in the story, so if she wants money, I have no problem. But when she did it the way she did it, it told me that I cannot even go close.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Because she's still so toxic, right? So then she started texting me and again, trying to bait me, right? So what I hadn't replied, I was out for breakfast with my dad, right? So I'm like, I'm not going to start picking up my phone and texting her anyway, right? But like an hour later, she's like, what's going to give you the courage to respond to me? Then 5 minutes later, this is so disrespectful. And all this stuff starts pouring out, and I want, I want some money for, I don't know if you read the book, the new one, because I had to take some of the things out because they were too identifying, right, for her, because I'm going to protect her privacy and stay out of jail. So she has a dog. Did your version of the book talk about her dog? Probably not.
No.
But she has a dog, and the dog was in the book originally. And it's a great dog. It's a little party poodle, right? Anyway, she said, I just want a percentage for the dog's name is Disco, right? No surprise there. The dog's name is Disco, right? And she says, I want some of the royalties to Disco, right? What's Disco going to do with the royalties, right?
Right.
She wants money. And I felt like I was now being, what's the word? Not embezzled.
Blackmailed?
Yeah,
yeah, there's another word, but yeah. So anyway, so I'm like, that's not going to work. And then, she gets mad and she starts contacting all the podcasts I've been on, saying, I want to come on the podcast because that's not a true story. It's all lies, blah, blah, blah.
Oh my gosh.
I still didn't do anything. I'm like, fine, it's just going to land where it needs to land, right?
Yeah.
So she becomes angrier and angrier. And I'm thinking, you know what? You realize, look, you haven't communicated with me in 10 years. And the only reason you're coming back is because you want something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right? But on the one hand, she's doing all these things that she doesn't think I even know about. Of course I do. And she's going into chat rooms online and women's chat rooms and saying he made me a sex slave and all this stuff, right?
Oh my Lord. She's so amazing, isn't she?
She is amazing, right? She's a little manipulative, a little bit. And then I found out that she'd been arrested Well, I knew she'd been arrested because I bailed her out, right? But finally I said, you know what I should do? I should probably get all the police reports of everything that happened,
Oh.
which I'd never done before. Holy crap, I found out all kinds of things that I didn't know.
Wow.
So when I bailed her out, she'd done the same thing to this guy that she tried to do to me. Take his house, take all his belongings, and she did. She did,
Oh,
right?
no.
He went on vacation and she took everything, right?
Oh my gosh.
So now he comes back trying to get things resolved, and he had a horrible time with the police. They couldn't find her. There was no evidence, but she'd taken all his furniture from his house, everything, and then absolutely ransacked the house, thrown the bed
Wow.
out of the window,
Okay.
smashed it, right?
Question.
So
How
one
does
last thing.
she
One last
not
one.
get arrested for this stuff? I mean,
I don't even know.
put
It's
in
just
jail.
insane.
I mean, if I did any of that, I would. Shannon would have to
Exactly.
come get me out.
It's the freaking miracle, and I know, right? You know what else, right? So you meet her father in the book, right?
Right?
So he steps forward to the police and said, I'll help you. And the state attorney called me way back when and said, we're putting a file together. There's a new law. It's called the Black Widow. When women do this kind of thing and they go state to state, there's different
Exactly.
state laws and there's no connection between the state, creating a network so that we can bring these things together. And her father has said that he'll testify.
Oh, it's about
Wow.
time that they're creating that network because
Do you know what I mean?
this happens a lot more than people realize.
Yeah, for sure, right? So anyway, I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not going near it, right? I can't go anywhere near that because I can't get sucked into that again. I don't want to get sucked into that again.
Right.
And she used to make me feel, she didn't make me, I would feel sorry for her,
Yeah.
right? Why? Because I was an idiot. But the bottom line is, right? But that's what would happen, right? And she would play on that, right?
Right. She knew
Just
that you
doing
had
the
a
thing.
soft heart, that you would do whatever she wanted, and she was really good.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So with me not responding, eventually she went away. Now,
Awesome.
she's probably going to come back at some point. I'll get another test, right?
Yeah.
Book
Test
two's
is not
coming out. You're probably going to hear from her again.
probably am. I am. You're
But you're
very
not
right.
going to respond, right?
No response. Yeah.
Good job.
And not to be unkind, but actually to be kind, to take care of myself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's the old saying, burn me once, shame on you. Burn me twice, shame on me.
Yeah. And I say that in the book. I go,
Mhm.
burn me once, shame on you. Burn
Exactly.
me twice, shame on you, shame on me. Burn me 5 times, then you're going to take me away.
Right?
Right.
Then I need a free stint somewhere where they bring me dinner every night. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, exactly. Yeah. It's a great quote. Yeah.
One of my favorite parts in the book, I loved it. I could picture it because Ann and I are big cruisers. We go on cruises at least once a year.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So the whole cruise scene on Celebrity.
We had, yes.
Yeah. Did I read you?
Awesome.
I read here you've been on a celebrity cruise. Right? I'm
God.
thinking, oh my God, we've been on the same cruise line. Yeah.
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 Now, I don't have the experience of knowing what the penthouse suite is like because we can't afford
No.
that, but
No.
I can imagine what it's like.
Yeah. But it was amazing. But we ruined that too,
Yeah,
right? We
I know.
ruined
Dang. I'm telling you.
Oh my God.
But
Yeah.
I had to laugh at the people above you because if Ann and I had been lucky enough to be the ones above y'all, we would have been observing as well.
Oh, heck yeah. I would have been dropping my camera down, waiting to see the best part.
Right. Well, and then do you remember that she says that, right? Because
Yeah.
I'm mortified. And she
Yeah.
goes, listen, I said, people are complaining. She said, listen, why didn't they just walk away? They didn't have to watch, right?
Exactly.
They were all having a good time. I went, you probably got a point there, right?
Yeah, exactly. She did.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh my God. And then the crew were coming up the staircase, right? Because
Yeah.
they went down to the lower deck. And she just went, stop. You dare come up those stairs. I will sue this cruise line. And they were running back down, right?
Heck
Holy
yeah.
crap. You just do not mess with this woman. And then like when the boys, my friends came over late, she was in bed and they came over and we go upstairs and she threw them out, right?
Yeah.
Because finally, they showed their head over the top of the balcony and Jerry and Ross. Oh my God. It's like a scene out of the Three Stooges, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
If
So when they make the book
Yeah.
into the movie, the series, I'm
Yes.
sure Netflix is probably going to pick it up,
yeah,
Yeah.
or Amazon Prime.
Right.
She'll
Yeah.
be coming back around then too.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
but listen,
Absolutely.
if that happens, you just give us girls a call. We will set you straight. We will not let
Yeah.
you stray.
Yeah.
You
Well,
got
I
this.
think
We're happy to
think
be
it
your bodyguards.
Right.
do you think? Yeah, I'm telling you, you will be, right? But it's kind of like everything works out perfectly because she showed her face, she
Yeah.
showed herself again, right? And so she starts making threats, and I just went,
Whatever.
you do whatever you're gonna do. Do whatever you're
Yeah.
gonna do. So when it comes out, the difference now is I have all the text she sent me, the recent text. I have all of the police reports of what happened.
Good.
I've changed certain things in the book so she's not easily identifiable, right?
Yes.
But she's telling everybody, she's going online saying, I'm the Venus flytrap, Well, now you
That's
told stuff. I didn't tell
yeah.
anybody, you did.
That's
you
on her.
outed yourself.
On her.
hmm
But it's good you have the receipts now. So if she tries
The
to
receipts,
say,
that's what they call it. All right. I
that
got the
you're
receipt.
defaming her or anything, that you have the receipts
No.
to show differently. So
Yeah.
that's good.
It's always good to CYA.
You're right. And I usually don't. And I didn't when I first wrote the book because for whatever reason, through my naivete, I didn't come out like that. I thought she'd just say, oh, this is amazing. Whatever.
No, not that kind of woman, Stephen. She is.
Exactly.
She's never going away.
But even I have a team of ladies that work with me, right? So in the beginning, they're all like, they're like, is this really true? You know what I mean? And then half of them were going, she's amazing. I'd like to be her. Right. And I'm going, okay, maybe I've put the slant too far one side. Anyway, but then what happened when she came back and they were seeing what she was writing in social media or what was going on, they went, now they're scared of her and they live in the Philippines, right? They're
Right.
like, whatever. Oh,
Yeah.
Oh,
Very
Lord.
crazy. She's she needs to be on the Black Widow list.
Yeah. A little bit of crazy is okay.
Yeah.
That's a little.
We've
that's
all
too far.
got that. We all have a
Yes,
little
of course
bit.
we do. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I even said in the book that we're all a little insane. Right?
Yeah.
We all live on the spectrum of insanity.
Exactly.
Somewhere, right? Because, show me a normal person, right? They don't exist. There isn't a normal person because normal to you is not normal to somebody else, right?
Exactly.
We've all got our perception of normal, right? So yeah. Amazing experience. Don't want to go through it again. Glad I did. Helped me tremendously, and I'm grateful for that. But yeah, I went through a lot of healing through that experience. Still got a ways to go, but I'm in a much better position to deal with it now. And I'm much happier being with myself. I feel so much better.
My friend, your
glad
eyes
for
are
you.
wide open.
Yeah.
You're going to be okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. And if they're not, I'm just going to call you.
Yeah, exactly. You do that.
Exactly.
We're
We
here
will-
for you. We're here
We
for you,
will fly
Stephen.
down there.
You're my backup girls.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We will come down there. We will make sure that you don't make any
Can you imagine-
mistakes.
Can you imagine me coming back on and going, ladies, what do you think? And you going, okay, sit your ass down. I'm going to
We're-
get some wine.
we're on
right?
our
And
way.
we're going to talk this through.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what's happening. That doesn't work. We'll get on a plane. Whatever it
yeah,
takes.
yeah, we'll fly right down to Florida.
I love Florida anyway, so I'm okay with coming to visit.
Where do you
I'm
like
good
going
with that.
to, Anna? Where do you like best in Florida?
I am a huge Sanibel person. I love Sanibel Island. I love Captiva. I am Bowman's Beach is my jam.
I don't know Bones Beach.
The best shelling in the world. It's literally a
Wonderful.
bowl.
Okay.
And yeah, we came out of there with conch shells like this. Just really pretty stuff. So yeah, it's a
Well, I definitely know Sanibel and I know Captiva, and they're beautiful. Not a lot of people know about them,
No, they don't. It's
Well, I'm on the East Coast. Sarasota's a little bit further north.
oh, that's a nice area.
And I live near the Keys, Lombo Key and Siesta Key.
Yeah.
So I'm very blessed to live.
Yes, you are very blessed. It's
you
beautiful.
guys, if you guys come down here, you got to let me know and we'll go and have. I don't know.
Good.
Don't
We're
put
going to
that
fly-
out there, Stephen, unless you're serious, because we will take you up on
No,
that.
I'm serious. Yeah, we'll go to a flower store. I'll buy you both a Venus flytrap.
I would love
love
it.
that. I
Actually,
love
used to
that.
have one many years ago.
Me too.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did too.
I
Yep.
gave my neighbor the book. I gave my neighbor the book, and like 2 days later, I go out the front door, and she's put a Venus flytrap on my doorstep.
That's
She probably
great.
come over and I was not there, or I was busy,
Yeah.
and she just left on the doorstep. I still killed it though, but by accident. I tried to keep it alive, but I'm so irresponsible, ladies. They say as an addict, the first thing you should take care of is a plant, right? So I've never been formally determined to be an addict, but I know I was addicted to her. Right? So, if you, you can't take care of a flower, do not be in a relationship, right? So I still have to pass that test, right?
Okay. There's a plant for everybody, Stephen. Get you a Pathos ivy. They'll grow for anybody, even my daughter who kills everything. So, yeah.
Only you can say that, Anne.
Only
Only
me.
you can.
Yeah.
She's your daughter. Yes. All right.
Well, Stephen, this conversation felt like one of those late night talks that people
I
desperately need but rarely have with honesty.
Yeah,
Oh,
true.
yes.
We
Messy.
do definitely need that. You're
Yeah.
right. And it's so important to laugh. And you guys have a great sense of humor, which I'm going to play on forever. But and then this is interesting. You realize when you have a great sense of humor, the humor comes from pain,
Yeah.
right? Humor comes from pain.
Yeah.
But that's what gives you the soul, the depth, right? To relate people, to not judge, to accept people for who they really are,
Mm-hmm.
right? Not make them into what you want them to be.
Exactly.
So I just can say it's been a blessing for me to be on here with you, a blessing and a privilege. And I'd love to do it again. And if you come to Florida, I am not joking. You have to come and see me. We've got to go hang out.
Stephen,
I would love
this has
that.
been really, really healing for me. You've said some things that have resonated with me personally. Thank you for that. I've really enjoyed talking to you tonight.
Before we continue, I want to share something really special we've created for this community. If you've ever listened to an episode and felt something deeper, like a moment that stayed with you or a story that made you reflect on your own life, we wanted to give you a place to go with that. We've officially launched our Travel Time Stories membership, where you can go beyond listening and become part of the experience. Inside the membership, you'll get access to the Story Circle, our private community where we reflect on each episode through guided journal prompts, share our stories, and connect through monthly meetups. There are also additional tiers with opportunities to go even deeper, from storytelling and sharing your voice to being part of the creative journey behind the scenes and joining us on our yearly group travels. If this speaks to you, you can join us through the link in the show notes or visit our website, traveltimestories.com. We would truly love to have you join the community.
Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your story and your insights and your laughter. It's been great. I love finding
Yes.
somebody that's like us with the sarcastic humor. Not a lot of people
Yep.
are, but
Right. And by the way, I've got it written down here. We're going to send you book 2, and I can't wait to hear what you think about it.
Awesome. We'll let you know. We'll review
wonderful.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
All right.
speaking of that, Stephen, where can listeners find out more about you and get your book?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, so I think I sent you the link, right? That people can get the first 3 chapters
Right.
for free, or I'm going to change that actually to the 7 signs you're in a toxic relationship, and never go back into one, right? And I've done an additional book actually with it called Welcome Home.
Oh.
When you go through it and you take the lessons and realize it didn't happen to you, it happened for you, it was all supposed to happen, and the gifts that are in it, you come home to yourself.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I
love
called
that.
mine The Map Back to Me.
Oh, beautiful. I love that,
Yeah.
right? And I love the devil I loved. That's gonna be a TV series and a movie. That's
Hey,
awesome.
hey, from your mouth to Netflix or Amazon Prime,
There you
Stephen,
go,
because that's
right?
what I'm
So
hoping
can
for.
you imagine when we're doing that and we're celebrating together, right? That'd be
Wouldn't that be
awesome.
great? I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
mean,
we
that is a
kind of,
great title. I mean, that's a great title. The
and we're
devil
kind
I
of
love.
aligned with what we're trying to do here because we're trying to build a community too where people feel safe
Yeah.
to open up
Yes.
and share their stories and receive healing
Yeah.
from that. So, yeah, we're kind of aligned on the same path here.
Mhm. Very
We
much
are,
so.
right? So there's nothing wrong with being part of two communities, right?
No,
Exactly. Yeah.
absolutely not.
Different things from each, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So the other thing is that you can reach me. The other link I sent you is to have a complimentary 30-minute session with me
Mm-hmm.
to see if we align. You know, not everybody aligns. Sometimes it's
Right.
not right. But I tell people, look, you're going to interview. You would interview me,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to interview you.
Yeah.
Neither of us want to waste each other's time.
Yep.
So part of working with me is convincing me that you're ready to do the work. You know, that you're
Right.
committed to that. Sometimes people say, "What do you mean? I'm paying you." And I go, "Listen, you pay to go to the gym, but you never go, right?" So
Exactly.
it's not about that. I'm not interested in your money. I'm interested in your transformation,
Right.
right? Where to get you out of wherever you are and to wherever you want to be. So yeah, there's a link for that. I think we sent you probably the website. You can go to the
Yes.
website and just have fun, right? There's all kinds of stuff on there, though.
Oh
Be
yeah,
of
I love
interest.
the song too, by the way.
Oh,
That
Isn't
was
yeah.
that an amazing song,
amazing.
ladies?
Yes.
Blew
Wow.
me away when I
Yes.
heard that song.
Yeah.
That is incredible.
It was
Beautiful song.
powerful, very powerful.
Made me cry.
Yeah.
Made me
Mhm.
cry.
Oh, yeah, same.
Yeah. Beautiful song. Yeah. So if nothing else, go listen to the song, right? It's
Exactly.
Right.
amazing.
Yes, 100%.
But
Yeah,
but
sure.
honestly, the first 3 chapters of that book, you will not wanna put it down. You're gonna wanna keep reading, so, yeah.
Well, good.
Yeah,
Good. And book
exactly.
2 will be on its way. Now, of course, it's Saturday, so it'll be on Monday, right, when we send it out to you. But
Okay.
it'll be dropped in your email,
Awesome.
I
and you can read.
appreciate that. Thank you
And
so
I
much.
really, really do want to hear your thoughts about it and your observations because
We will review it and
Yeah,
send you our
definitely.
review.
Because I'm working on my
beautiful.
review for book 1 now, so I'll be
Yeah.
posting that for
Okay,
you.
well, that'll
Yeah.
be awesome, ladies. Thank you so much. Thank
Yeah.
you. I would appreciate that. Yeah.
And to our listeners, share this episode with someone you feel needs to hear it. Get a copy of The Venus Flytrap. It's a fascinating read, and ladies, it's great for those who spend their nights alone. Let me tell you, it will help you out.
I got you. Yes, for sure.
And
Yes.
Yeah.
remember, sometimes the hardest relationship to heal is the love we have with ourselves. So we will
Mm.
have Stephen's links in the show notes, which will include the link for the first 3 chapters of his book and a link with the discount code for the counseling sessions. And it will also be on our website, traveltimestories.com, where each guest has a dedicated page so you can learn more about them and listen to their episodes. And we invite you to join our Facebook community, the Story Circle, where we all
Mm.
come to the table and have a safe, supportive space where you can tell the truth about our lives, share our stories openly, heal through connection, and rediscover ourselves without judgment, mask, or expectations.
And until next time, keep traveling your stories and keep making memories for life.